Imagine taking a stroll through the forest, breathing in the fresh air, and suddenly realizing the scenery is trying to kill you. Plants are usually the background players in our lives, but some are silent predators with a dark evolutionary edge. Nature is not a gentle place. While we often think of animals as the hunters, the botanical world hides some of the most efficient killers on the planet. Forget the Venus flytrap catching a stray housefly. We are talking about plants that have evolved to defend themselves with chemical warfare, mechanical traps, and even human-sized consumption. First, let's talk about the gimpy gimpy. Its scientific name is Dendroconidae moroides, and it is arguably the most painful plant in existence. Found in the rainforests of Australia, this shrub looks harmless. It has large, oval-shaped leaves that might look like a perfect place to rest, but do not touch it. The plant is covered in tiny, silica-based needles. These needles are like hypodermic syringes filled with a potent neurotoxin. If you brush against it, the needles stay embedded in your skin. The pain is not a simple sting. It is described as being sprayed with hot acid and electrocuted at the same time. In the 1960s, a researcher named Marina Hurley studied the plant and reported that the pain was so intense it forced her to vomit. The toxin is incredibly stable. There are records of dried specimens in museum collections that remain toxic for over a century. If you prick yourself with a 100-year-old leaf, you will still be in an agony. There is no real cure for the sting, only time and perhaps some wax strips to pull out the invisible needles. Nature has a way of turning defense into an offense. While the gimpy gimpy kills through pain, other plants kill through chemical manipulation. Take the rosary pea, or Abrus precatorius. It sounds innocent, but it produces a toxin called abrin. Abrin is one of the most lethal substances on Earth. It is a ribosome inactivating protein that stops your cells from making the proteins they need to survive. A single seed, if chewed, contains enough toxin to kill a healthy adult within 3 to 4 days. The symptoms are gruesome. It starts with nausea, then internal bleeding, and eventually organ failure. What makes it so deadly is how attractive the seeds are. They are bright red with a distinct black spot, making them popular for jewelry and prayer beads. But there have been documented cases of bead makers accidentally pricking their fingers while drilling these seeds. That tiny amount of dust entering the bloodstream was enough to cause massive systemic failure. If those plants are the silent assassins, others are the brute force killers. Let's look at the manchineal tree. It grows in the tropical regions of Florida and the Caribbean. Christopher Columbus famously called them the apples of death. One bite of the fruit results in blistering, swelling of the throat, and severe gastrointestinal distress. But it gets worse. If you stand under a manchineal tree during a rainstorm, the sap mixes with the water and drips onto your skin. This causes severe chemical burns. The wood of the tree is so toxic that burning it can release smoke that causes temporary blindness and respiratory issues. Even standing near it requires caution. It is a tree that maintains a literal exclusion zone around its trunk. We tend to look at the world as a hierarchy where humans are at the top. We assume the environment is something we control, but these plants prove that survival is a game played on every level of life. Evolution does not care about your comfort. It only cares about efficiency. If a plant needs to keep humans away to protect its fruit or its leaves, it will develop a way to make sure that staying away is a matter of life or death. Consider the giant hogweed. It is a phototoxic nightmare. When the sap of this plant touches human skin, it doesn't just burn you, it strips away your protection against UV rays. Your skin becomes completely sensitized to sunlight. After exposure, if you step out into the sun, your skin can develop massive third-degree burns and permanent scarring. It effectively turns your own skin into a target for the sun's radiation. It is a plant that uses the sun as its weapon of choice. Then there is the question of the pitcher plants. While most eat insects, scientists have discovered larger species, like Nepenthes raja, that have evolved to feed on vertebrates. They do not just catch bugs, they catch lizards, frogs, and sometimes small mammals. They lure them in with nectar, and the animal slips into a pool of digestive enzymes. These enzymes are so powerful they can dissolve flesh and bone in a matter of days. We call these plants deadly because they harm us, but that is a human-centric view. They are simply successful. They have solved the problem of survival in a world that is constantly trying to eat them. The gimpy gimpy's sting isn't there to spite you, it's there to stop a herbivore from taking a bite. The rosary pea doesn't want to kill, it wants to protect its genetic legacy. We live in a world where we think we have categorized everything, mapped every forest, and labeled every danger. Yet every year, botanists discover new chemical compounds in rare plants that could either cure our diseases or end our lives in minutes. We are walking through a botanical minefield. It makes you rethink that next hike. It makes you look at that beautiful, colorful flower differently. You see the vibrant colors not as an aesthetic choice, but as a warning signal. You see the soft, fuzzy leaves not as a sign of gentleness, but as a delivery system for venom. The next time you are outside, remember this. The earth is not just dirt and water. It is a complex, living machine. And in the race to survive, some of the most unassuming players are the ones that have mastered the art of the kill. We aren't the only ones in charge of the planet. We are just lucky that these plants are rooted to the ground. If they could move, the world might look very different for us. Are we really the masters of our environment, or are we just guests, lucky enough to be walking past these silent hunters without triggering their defenses? The truth is, the line between life and death in the natural world is much thinner than we like to admit. Nature doesn't need to hunt like a predator to be dangerous. Sometimes, it just needs to exist.